Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the City Commission meeting for the City of Deltona for Monday, September 20th, 2021 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Villa Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner King.
Here.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bradford. Mayor
Here. Okay, this evening we are going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner King for the invocation and the pledge. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, the invocation will be given by Rabbi Paul Falk of the Ariel Messianic Congregation, located at 1525 East Graves Avenue in Orange City. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our national flag, and our student had to cancel, so we have no one to sing the national anthem. So please rise.
Our Father and King, we come before you. We thank you for the reality, for the blessing of living in this country, at this time, in this place. We thank you for the blessing of this town, this part of creation that you've blessed us with. We thank you for the individuals before us that have taken up the mantle of responsibility of serving all of the individuals in this community in regard to the decisions they make and the time that they put in. We ask that you bless them, give them wisdom in regard to the decisions, and just lead this wonderful place forward as a blessing to not only those who are in it, but those who come to enjoy it as well. In your name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to go ahead and move on to the beginning of the business meeting. Item 4A, approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting May 3rd and May 17th, 2021. May we have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by, was that Commissioner King?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move to presentations, awards, and reports. First on the agenda is a proclamation for National Family Day. Is there anyone in the commission chambers that is here for National Family Day to receive the proclamation? Okay, if you'd like to go ahead and come on up, Commissioner McCool will come down with the proclamation for you. Thank you, Commissioner McCool.
I'm going to appropriately distance. Thank you for being here this evening. This is a very, very important subject here, so thank you for being here. I'll now read the proclamation. Whereas on the fourth Monday in September, National Family Day encourages everyone to gather around the table and enjoy a meal together. And whereas the old saying goes, families who eat together stay together. But did you know they may also be reducing the risk of addiction? According to the National Center on Addiction, families who eat 3 or more meals a week together reduces a teen's risk of using tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. And whereas the families who eat together also learn healthy eating habits, eat smaller portions, and are less likely to stress about food. When parents engage with their children over a meal, their relationships are better. Children learn responsibility while helping to prepare the meal and cleaning up. They feel like they are a part of a unit, a team. Parents become and remain the people they turn to when the significant problems crop up. And whereas they look forward to conversation about grades, dating, borrowing the car, and moving away, don't forget the debate about politics. Our children won't always agree with us, and that's okay. Why? Because we raise them to be independent thinkers and to express themselves effectively. These conversations start at a dinner table. They shouldn't begin when our children's world turn upside down. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and commissioners of the city of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 27th, 2021 as National Family Day. in the city of Deltona and urge all families to gather around the table, enjoy a meal together, talk to each other, discuss everyone's day, and then commit to having another meal together before the week is out. This is executed this 20th day of September 2021. Thank you very much.
No, just on behalf of the House Next Door, thank you very much. I think, I serve on the board, and Tom is our board chairman for the foundation board, and so just want to say thank you guys for taking the time to put families first. It's a core part of how we are as a community. It's a foundation to society, really, if you think about it, and so thank you much for putting this forth and emphasizing the importance of the family in our community and taking time to make a special day for that, to remind folks of that area. So thank you very much on behalf of the House Next Door.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is a presentation from Romano Law Group to provide an update in the national prescription opioid litigation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Hi, my name is Eric Romano with Romano Law Group. Along with my co-counsel, it's our privilege to serve as outside counsel and representing the city of Deltona in the national opioid litigation. I want to start by thanking City Attorney Skip Fowler, who has been tremendous to work with and been very kept an open line of communication with us and done a great job helping us shepherd things through as necessary with the city. So we appreciate that. It's made things a lot easier. I'll give just a quick overview, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. So we filed suit on behalf of the city in the opioid litigation a couple of years ago. We were very early on in the process. The lawsuit was consolidated with thousands of similar lawsuits filed by cities and counties around the country in front of Judge Polster in Cleveland. And as you may have seen in some of the headlines and news reports over the last couple of years, that litigation has been intense. It has resulted in a couple of bankruptcies by some defendants, and more recently a significant national settlement with the three major distributors and Johnson & Johnson. I'll talk about that settlement first. That is a global settlement of $26 billion nationally that is to be allocated among all 50 states that have signed on to the agreement, certain Native American tribes, some other entities, but that money is being allocated nationally. With respect to the portion of those settlement funds coming to Florida, over the last year or so, we have worked with the Attorney General's office and with counsel for other municipalities and counties to reach an agreement as to how Florida's money would be divided among the state. That agreement had been reached. The vast majority of cities and counties in the state have signed on to that. We expect that the settlement funds from that settlement should start flowing down to the local level likely by next summer. Maybe a little earlier, but knowing how these things go, probably better to project next summer to be on the safe side. In addition to that, I mentioned a couple of defendants had filed bankruptcies. The big one you've probably heard about is Purdue Pharma. The other one is Mallinckrodt. There's a few smaller ones, but those two bankruptcies in particular, by the time the bankruptcy plans are approved, we expect those will pay out additional significant dollars to the tune of several billion more on a national basis. Those funds will be allocated nationally and then here in Florida throughout the state based on the same allocation agreements that were put in place for the national distributor settlement. So that's kind of an overview of where things are now. I can tell you there are a couple of bellwether trials still getting ready to go. Litigation continues against remaining defendants, and we expect that through the course of ongoing litigation, there should be some additional settlement funds nationally that ultimately will flow into Florida and then eventually to the city of Deltona.
Thank you very much for that update, Commissioners. Let's see, Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the funds. I heard comments that those funds would be going to the county. Is that correct? Or is it coming directly to the city of Deltona?
A little bit of both. So the allocation model within the state basically takes the settlement funds, puts them into 3 buckets. The first bucket is the city-county fund. That is money that will come directly to the city of Deltona. Now, I can give you some rough numbers, but understanding that these numbers will fluctuate depending on a number of variables, but the projection right now is from the settlement, from the distributor settlement, the city should receive directly roughly $20,000 to $35,000 per year for 9 to 18 years. And that's because these payments are scheduled to be spread out over time, and that helps maximize the total amount of dollars coming from the defendants. In addition, and by the way, that's 15% of the settlement funds in Florida is going to that city-county fund, so that's money directly to the city. Another 30 to 40%, and that's a range because that percentage will fluctuate over time, but another 30 to 40% goes into what's called the regional fund. And in this region, that regional money will be paid to Volusia County. That is because Volusia County has a population that exceeds 300,000 people, meets the other criteria. But that money going to Volusia County is intended to be used throughout the county. And I can give you the range of the amount projected to go to the county as part of this regional fund. That is about $760,000 a year up to $1.4 million a year. And the county is obligated, as I said, to spread that throughout the region, including allocating some of those dollars directly to the city of Deltona. So it contemplates a cooperative agreement between the county and municipalities as to how those regional dollars should be spent.
Can you tell me again how many years is that going to be distributed through? How many years again?
Up to 18. So the amounts being paid by the 3 distributors will be paid over 18 years. The amount being paid by Johnson & Johnson will be paid over 9 years. And the amounts being paid by Purdue and Mallinckrodt through the bankruptcies, those will also be paid over a period of years, but the number of years fluctuates.
So the funds that are coming directly to the city of Deltona is separate from the funds that the county will be giving to the city of Deltona?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, commissioners? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have a presentation from Volusia Recovery Alliance. Karen, would you like to come up and introduce everything?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Strapek. I'm a person in long-term recovery of 38 and a half years from substance use disorder. I am the executive director of the Volusia Recovery Alliance, a recovery coach professional, and a certified recovery peer specialist. And the Volusia Recovery Alliance has an office in Daytona Beach, and we are a peer-driven grassroots 501c3. We came to be through the Aetna Foundation gave us money to start a recovery community organization, which is focused on substance use disorder recovery. Our mission is we exist to serve all those seeking recovery from the impact of addiction, including family, friends, and allies. Our vision is that we work to mobilize resources, reduce barriers, increase awareness and support in an effort to eliminate stigma and enhance recovery through multiple pathways. Stigma is one of the largest barriers for recovery from substance use disorder, and I have my own stigma story. Just briefly, I was a candidate for recovery at the age of 20, and I continued to use substances, and my initial use came from opioids because I have terrible knees and I had a lot of knee pain, and the doctor wrote me prescriptions for opioids way back in the 80s. My recovery date is December 1st, 1982. And anyways, I used for another 9 years. And what that did, it destroyed the potential for me to become a doctor, which was my dream. It ruined my art career as well. I was an artist back then, and I didn't start my artwork again until I moved to Florida. And, you know, my life was just falling apart for all those years, and I finally found recovery because another professional reached out her hand to me and said, come along, come into recovery. I know you're a mess, and I was. And so I entered program. The purpose of the Volusia Recovery Alliance is to coordinate peer-driven services that provide substance use recovery to our local communities. So we're founded, whoops, I need to go back. We were founded on values which serve as the foundation for our mission and vision. Recovery, we are grounded in recovery principles. That means we live out spiritual principles like honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And we promote that through the communities. You know, hope is the catalyst for recovery. And so we like to consider ourselves hope dealers, right? Because spreading the message that recovery is possible is a lot of the work that we do. We embrace multiple pathways. We have a sense of community, that all voices are heard in a participatory process. Diversity is our strength. We have peer leadership, so our organization is run by peers, which are people with lived experience, including families in the recovery process from substance use disorder. Recovery is possible for all. We empower others through modeling our recovery principles, service to others. All persons that come through our doors and that we meet on the street are treated with compassion, respect, and courtesy. And then safety. We offer non-judgment and trauma-informed care. So one of our initiatives comes through our contract with the Career Source of Flagler and Volusia, and it's called Career Connect. The purpose is to support communities fostering opioid recovery through workforce development, which is funded by a federal award from the U.S. Department of Labor. So if you're a person in recovery from substance use disorder and looking for a new career, or if you're a family member who's been impacted by a loved one's substance use disorder, or even if you're interested in a career that helps those with substance use disorder, this program offered by the Volusia Recovery Alliance is available to you. And all you have to do, I brought one flyer at the back. It has a referral form on it, but you can call our peer line, which is 386-77-PEER, to get a referral form. The other thing that we offer is a collaboration with Halifax Continuing Care. It's called Bridge for Hope. It is a grief support group specific to overdose grief, which is very complicated. There's a lot of stigma when you lose a loved one to overdose, and we want people to know that they're not alone. It's a safe place to come. It is facilitated by a hospice therapist and a reverend that is part of the Volusia Recovery Alliance, and I'm usually at those meetings to help out as well. And it does take place the second Wednesday of every month at 5:30 at the Begin Again Center down the street from Halifax. The original plan was to offer a meeting out here as well, but with COVID, we've kind of been challenged with that, so hopefully we'll be able to bring that to this side of the county as well at some point. So one of the biggest things that we do is train on overdose reversal and response, along with free Narcan distribution. We do have a Narcan committee called New Chance. Our chairperson is here, Madi V. She lives in DeLand, and she's a very big part of the Volusia Recovery Alliance. You can help us save lives by giving us a place to distribute this life-saving drug. We do partner with New Hope Church on the third Wednesday of the month in the morning during their food pantry to give out this training and to hand out the free Narcan. I want you to know that from the beginning of January, we've given out 1,018 Narcan kits. We've gotten reports that we've reversed 36 overdoses, which means we saved 36 lives. We have trained over 200 people, and we work very closely with the Sheriff's Department on the overdose numbers. And unfortunately, this year we have lost more than 367 people in Volusia County, unfortunately. But the good news is that when somebody gets Narcan, 95% of the time they are reversed and we save lives. One of the things that we also give out is harm reduction tips, which we are currently getting translated into Spanish. We did try to translate it before, but we found out there was a lot of mistakes, and so we're in the process of redoing those pamphlets so that we can give them out in this area as well. So if you know of anybody that is at risk for an overdose from an opioid, you can call our peer line. Again, it's 386-77-PEER, and request that we come out and deliver the Narcan. On this side of the county, you'll get Marty V. On the other side of the county, you'll either get myself or one of the 3 peers that we have that are doing peer work for Volusia Recovery Alliance. So this is one of our bus signs. We say overdose, not today. And so again, we're getting our peer number out, and we would love to have these signs in Spanish on this side of the county. So I'm looking into doing that. We need to find a vendor to do the signs, but we hope to bring that here as well. So a lot of the work that we do is community education and training. As part of our pursuit of decreasing stigma, it's important to know that addiction is a brain disease, and it is treatable. It is a chronic disease. Yes, there are relapse, but the relapse rates for substance use disorder are not any worse than diabetes, heart disease, or asthma. In fact, the overdose rate, the relapse rate for substance use disorder is less than the relapse rate for asthma. So some of the education that we offer is substance use disorder, an equal opportunity destroyer. It has a lot of information about what happens to the brain when somebody uses drugs. The substance use disorder really is driven by dopamine, and so one of the things that we teach in this training is what happens to the brain with dopamine and certain drugs. We also have a training on breaking the barriers of stigma. We do a training all about peers. Language matters, recovery, messaging. Language is really important in decreasing stigma. We talk about a wellness action plan, a wellness recovery action plan, which is a really step-by-step way to stay healthy when you have either mental illness or substance use disorder. And then we, of course, do the overdose response and reversal. And then the latest training that I'm developing in partnership with Career Source as well is how do you build a recovery-ready workplace. So our peer recovery support is a lot of the work that we do. We are grant funded. We have some money from LSF Health Systems to put peers in place. We are looking for a Hispanic peer at this time, but we do have some employees and board members actually that are trained peers, and a peer is a person with lived experience from substance use disorder. And so people can call us, they can come in and talk to, we can meet people where they're at to talk to someone with lived experience. We help link them to other recovery resources, for instance, housing. A lot of people come out of jails and prisons and they have no place to go, or treatment. We can provide one-on-one recovery coaching and work really closely with the person so that they have a better chance of building their foundation in recovery. So again, call 386-77-PEER to get substance use disorder recovery support. The other thing we offer once a month on Zoom is the Peer Cafe, and this is basically a support meeting as well for people that want to become a peer recovery specialist. Those that are interested in getting the certification or working on the certification or that are already certified, because this is a very stressful job, as you can well imagine, working with people that are sometimes resistant to recovery. But we can be very successful in helping them sustain and get into recovery. So part of the meeting is we talk about our stressors. The other part is we do a lot of scenarios on ethics, because the boundaries, it's very easy to blur the boundaries, because there is a recovery community in Volusia County, 12-step programs. There's a thing called Smart Recovery. There's all different pathways. And when you're out in the community as a peer, you're also out in the community as a person trying to sustain their own recovery, because that's the big important part of this all, is that none of us want to put our own recovery in jeopardy through the work that we do. So this is a way to get the support, and we really go into a lot of ethical issues. All of our information is on our Facebook page or on our website at www.volusiarecoveryalliance.org. We have a lot of supporters. Some of our major supporters include the Department of Children and Families, Lutheran Services, LSF Health Systems, Career Source, of course, of Flagler and Volusia, the First United Methodist Church, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, Halifax Health Continuing Care, and the Daytona Beach Christian Church. Additionally, some other community partners that we really work very closely with is Advent Health. All the different hospitals, we often have Narcan events in their parking lot in front of the emergency rooms. The Daytona Outreach Center, emergency medicine professionals, the MPROS group, Keller Williams, New Hope Church here in Deltona, the Outreach Community Care Network, Speedway Custom Photo Lab, and SMA Healthcare. We're so grateful for Volusia County and all the support that we get on a daily basis from everybody, including you all here. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I know I met you ladies, I think, beginning of the year. You were over by the emergency
Yes.
by Advent Health on Howland Boulevard.
Yes.
And I saw this tent, so I stopped to find out what was going on there. And I met you and Marivi that day. You showed me how to administer the Narcan, so I became an expert, sort of.
Yes.
And I know that day you gave away some of it for, for people who wanted to have them in their cars. And you also show concern about not being able to service this side of Volusia County. And I'm so happy to hear that you got together with New Hope Services, and now that we have you guys here in Deltona. Thank you so much for bringing it here.
You're so welcome. And everybody, these cards are on the back. If you want to take some, just help yourself. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Commissioner McCool is on the
Yes.
board as well, real quick.
Hi, Commissioner.
Karen, you're a treasure. Your whole organization is. And I was really appreciative when you agreed to come. And, peer-to-peer is so very important, and removing the stigma for addiction of any kind, whatever the substance might be, and substance use disorders. So I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank you for digging in and in highlighting how important recovery is, and how much addiction costs us as a community. And very important when you talk about removing that stigma, because as a person, and it's not a secret, I think that removing the stigma, you stated that you're in recovery, You know, I think that everybody that knows me knows that I'm in recovery also, and addiction destroys families, it destroys communities, it destroys economies, it destroys dreams, and I believe that probably half of the people in this room are either going to be touched by addiction themselves, or a child, a family member, or a friend. And so thank you for raising awareness, and I'm so looking forward to working with you as y'all bring, and thank you for your continuing bringing recovery to this community, which has been hit so hard by opioid addiction. And so I'm just really looking forward to welcoming you in the community and thanking you for everything you've done in the community so far.
Thank you. It's our privilege to be here. And I do want to say that 1 in 3 people are affected by substance use disorder. So there's a lot of people out there, but there's also a lot of people in recovery, so yay. Thank you so much again for your time and for the invitation.
Thank you, Karen. And we really appreciate you partnering with New Hope and bringing this to our community, and we look forward to furthering that partnership and being a part of it.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances and public hearings. So our first item is a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I'm so sorry. Captain Marino is on this also. It wasn't under presentation. There was not, they were together, right?
Okay, Captain Marino, did you want to come up and? Sure.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I'm going to be extremely brief. I'm just going to simply introduce you to our Director of Juvenile Services, Carla Kwan. She's going to talk to you about the programs that we have for juveniles specifically here in the city.
Thank you.
Actually, good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. I'm going to talk about a twofold process. I'm going to talk about what Volusia County Sheriff's Office is doing as a whole to address addiction amongst juveniles and adults. We have separate programs for both. So just to give you a quick update, juvenile crime in the county is down. However, there's still some serious crimes being committed. Domestic violence is a big concern, with the youth striking their parents over cell phones, computer, video games, and other electronics being taken away. This can result into a domestic battery charge. Currently, we have youth being arrested for DUI, cocaine possession, sale and delivery of cocaine, sale and delivery of hallucinants, trafficking in methamphetamines over 14 grams, and trafficking in fentanyl over 4 grams. What we've done is when deputies are responding to calls, they have a packet it's a rip-off sheet, and it's community resources, and I'll leave some in the back and you can take them, where the parents can get a list of community resources to assist with the behaviors and substance abuse dealing with but not limited to children refusing to go to school, truant behavior, mental health, and autism. In an effort to address these issues, the Sheriff's Office has collaborated with a new pilot program which we will be rolling out later this year with Department of Children and Families that will look at the child as a whole holistic approach, and our goal is to do prevention before it gets too far in identifying the crisis that children may be going to keep them out of the juvenile system, repeat Baker Acts, inpatient residential care, and removal from the homes. In addition to that, we are partnering with Stuart Marchman to do a Volusia County Juvenile Outreach Program, which will address substance abuse treatment, crisis intervention, counseling, and help with schoolwork. And Sheriff Chitwood has stepped up to the plate big time, and he is donating $25,000 from drug forfeiture to Stuart Marchman for this initiative for juveniles. And he is also donating another $25,000 from drug forfeiture to the Volusia Recovery Alliance outreach programs for Deltona and Pearson. So that's what we have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Commissioner McCool, you were on the board as well.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys too, because when I reached out, boom, you were like a day I had information. There are some mind-numbing statistics regarding juvenile addiction, drug use, trouble that stems from mental health issues. As you know, we've had a couple of high-profile cases in our community regarding juveniles, and it highlights the need that we have for mental health and substance abuse in our community. And I think that the conversation has opened up more about that. I was going to share those numbers. I'm sorry I've been out of town, but I would like to share those numbers with everyone regarding that. And I know that we talked also about collecting data, because we have an easier time addressing issues when we have the correct data. And we talked about gathering data when it comes to domestic violence, how much substance abuse is involved in domestic violence. And we talked about a new form in gathering those data. Correct, Captain Marino? Will you speak to that for just a moment?
Yeah, real quick. Basically, the system that we work under right now, we don't have the capability to differentiate between, what domestic violence situations involve substance abuse or not. But we're going to a new system. It's an acronym, NIBRS system that we're going to be incorporating beginning of next year. So that data actually breaks it down that much further. So to give you kind of an analogy, it's like on Sundays I make a nice pasta sauce. I can tell you I make a nice red sauce. The new system will tell you what the ingredients are. So it'll break down the actual statistics to it. So. But that's what we're looking to do in the future, as far as the statistics specific to substance abuse. So.
And I would like to thank you guys very much, and thank Sheriff Chetwood for addressing this immediately, and the continuation and collaboration as we bring more services for mental health and substance abuse into our community. So thank you all very much. Thank our rescue teams that go in and treat and rescue, our frontline law enforcement that has to deal with this on a daily basis, and especially in the juvenile, very difficult situation. So I'd like to thank you very much, and look forward to our community growing as far as resources for mental health and substance abuse. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So for those of you who are not aware of, this pilot project, it's already being put into place by Carla and Captain Marino in my district, and it's working very well. So thank you so much for stepping up for this young person.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank the sheriff very much. We'd like to say thank you publicly for donating that forfeiture money to both organizations. SMA usually doesn't do juvenile, and so that's...
Well, no, they do. They have.
Do they? Good.
They have the Juvenile Residential Program, which is called RAP. And then they also have Beach House, which deals with raise and truants. So what this is going to do is this focus on Volusia County.
And that's great, because that is a huge need. Yeah. It is a huge need here, and we appreciate that money going from where it came from to where it's going is really giving back. Right. And we really appreciate that. Thank you very much for the updates. And if you'd come back maybe in another 2 months, let us know how everything's going with the pilot program and everything. We'd love to hear an update.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, we'll leave these packets at the back so you can just grab it or take sheets and just pass it out. It's two-sided. What we looked at was the top 911 calls that parents were calling us for, and we took that information, made a resource sheet in hopes to cut down on 911 calls, but also giving parents the information that they need.
Can you give one to the clerk? Just give one over there, and then we'll go ahead and have those put in the back for anyone that wants them. Thank you so much. Thank you, Captain Marino, as well. Thank you, Carla. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move into ordinances and public hearings. Item 6A is a public hearing, Resolution 2021-51, adopting the final millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes. So I'm going to go through my script, and I am now opening the public hearing. This is a public hearing to hear and consider comments and questions regarding the city's tentative millage rate and proposed annual budget for the coming fiscal year 2021-2022. The City of Deltona hereby proposes a tentative millage rate of 7.85 mils. The tentative millage rate reflects a 9.31% increase from the rolled back rate of 7.1812 mils. The tentative millage rate is higher than the rolled-back rate of 7.1812 in order to cover increased operating expenses. The floor is now open to hear public comments and take any questions from the public. Do we have anyone that signed up to speak from the general public?
No, Mayor.
If you want to speak on, this is specifically on the millage rate. General public comment will be toward the end of the meeting. But if anyone wants to speak specifically on this item, adopting the millage rate, then, sir, you can come up. You have please state your name and address for the record, and we'll set the timer for the 4 minutes.
All right. Yes, my name is Billy Fowler. I'm a retired contractor out of South Carolina, 44 years.
Can you pull your mic forward? Can you pull the mic forward a little bit? Thank you.
My name is Billy Fowler. I'm a retired contractor out of South Carolina, 44 years. What I can't understand is how can you go up on the appraisal and the millage all in 1 year? Usually when you go up on the assessment value, you can't go up on the millage. If you go up on the millage, you can't go up on the appraisal price because that's double taxation.
We don't do a back and forth, but I will go ahead after you're done. We'll go ahead and I will go ahead and explain that for you.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, thank you. Is anyone else? Then we'll go ahead and close the public participation period before we have commission comments and questions. The millage rate process is set by the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, we have what is called the homestead. If you own your home, you are homesteaded. You receive a $50,000 deduction on your property tax bill, and even up to $75,000 in Deltona if you fall under the category of elderly and a certain income category. The state sets the taxable increase from what your property can be appraised at to what it can be, to as high as it can go. The state sets that. This year they set it at 1.4%. So if someone that is not homesteaded, their appraisal rate will go up according to what the market says, 8, 9, 10%. But if you're homesteaded, it's not going to go any higher than 1.4%. So that's how the millage is calculated, and that is how the appraisal is done by the property appraiser. And the millage is based on the increase from the property appraiser is based on what the state sets, and our millage rate is based on those numbers that we get. So it is a formula and a system that is set forth by the state of Florida. And am I correct, Mary? And it is all, and we have to follow a process. So as your appraisals go up and you're not homesteaded, you will go up according to what the property appraiser deems is the current market value. And then you would still have that increase, but for a homesteaded property, that rate is set by the state of Florida. And this year, the state, it cannot, according to Save Our Homes, which was passed by the voters, it cannot go higher than 3%. And the state sets it, this year they've set it at only a 1.4% increase. So, city commissioners, do you have any comments or questions? Commissioner Sosa.
I think we know where I stand on this. Quick question, before we even get into next year, we're close to the end of our fiscal budget this year, our fiscal year. How much money do we plan on sweeping over into next year?
How much is it carried over?
I believe the latest number, and Mary can correct me if I'm wrong here, but previously we had discussed taking employees at $15 an hour that would be transferred from this year to next year because of the money we had left over in the employee personnel lines. That's a little less than $2 million. I understand that at this time there may be a potential for up to $4 million that would be carried over to next year, but that will not be finalized until we go to the last part of reconciling the books. Mary, is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. We really won't, the end of the year is September 30th. So it takes a considerable amount of time to close out the year to come up with an exact figure. However, the revenue rates have come in higher than projected, and so we should have a greater amount than projected to roll over to next year.
And Madam Mayor, if I could add one additional item. One of the things that we did under my authority is we essentially cut off people purchasing things beginning October 15th. Part of that is so that the finance department had the ability to close out the books. Second part of it is on larger expenditure. My basic belief is if you haven't spent the money in 10 and a half months, it must not have been that important. It is training my directors and staff to be more mindful regarding their spending. So all that works into part of the reason where we are where we are.
Okay, so we have maybe between $2 and $4 million that's going to get swept into the next year. And right now we have $24 million in undesignated reserves. So that'll take that up to $26 million in undesignated reserves. One issue I have is, do you on the Rhode Island extension, that is a $10 million project you want to take out of, the undesignated reserves. Is that part of the $55 million budget, the $15 million increase?
First of all, I believe Rhode Island Extension, what we indicated with that would be approximately $6 million from undesignated reserves and $4 million from the transportation fund. And the commitment was that as we start bringing in revenue within the activity center, that we would take a portion of the tax revenue and reimburse back the undesignated reserves. The second element with regard to the undesignated reserves is during the budget process, I had a long discussion with the commission with regard to what we went through in 2007 with the downturn in the economy, the amount of revenue that we lost, and how much we had to increase our tax rate to halfway get back to normal. Camille Hooper at one point indicated that number was about $12 to $14 million that we lost because of the downturn, the fact that we can't have an increase in homestead properties of more than 3% in a given year, even though the housing values escalated much quicker than that. And so what I told the commission during the budget process, the coming year, I plan to come back and ask you all to create a general fund protection account, or whatever you want to call it, of about $12 million that we would set aside so that, on the chance that we have another downturn, that we would have money in that general fund protection account to ensure that we don't have a situation where I think we went from 4-something mil to 7.85 mil trying to make up that revenue loss. The state of Florida had a 10 mil cap. We do not have room to go from 7.85 to 10. So by having the general fund protection account, it will allow us to take another hit like the 2007 recession. So later this year, we will be coming back to you to put some of that money into that account for future protection. We need to be financially and fiscally responsible to ensure that we don't run into that problem.
Okay, so is that 10 million part of the $55 million budget? So is the 10 million for the Rhode Island extension part of the $55 million budget total?
It's part of the overall budget, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, myself, I don't feel comfortable putting that in there in the budget at this time. You know, I think that is something you maybe should bring back to the commission at a later date because, I mean, you've already said it with regards to the special magistrate. Once it's in the budget, it's official. And I have not received one document regarding the Rhode Island extension, and I don't feel comfortable putting $10 million in a budget that could potentially be official because we approved the budget. So I definitely have some concerns over that.
So noted.
Thank you. Now, another thing, you're saying economic downturns. I totally agree with reserves. I don't have an issue with reserves. I like reserves because you never know when something's going to happen. But the 24 million, I'm okay with that sitting there right now as a reserve. Now, for an economic downturn, you're talking potential economic downturn coming, and we may not have money for it. And that leads to, you know, some of my other issues. Why are we increasing staff? I don't want to cut staff, but why are we increasing? You're adding 16 more Parks and Recs folks. I can see adding some folks to help out maintain the park. You add another park superintendent, $91,000, $25,000 for a truck, plus benefits. We already have a parks director. We have an assistant parks director. You have several different managers underneath them. I don't think we need another park superintendent at $125,000 expense. You're adding 7 more code enforcement officers for a total of, what, additional salary of $460,000 plus trucks, equipment, uniforms. That's a big expense. You know, folks, right now, how many people do you have, sir, in the water department that can't pay their water bill that are on payment programs?
How many employees in the water department, or just how many
residents of Deltona that are on city water cannot afford to pay their water bill at this time that are on payment programs?
Sir, that's a difficult question to answer because the commission, at our recommendation, put a hold on cutoffs back last year. We went beyond what other cities did with regard to stopping that program and making people come in compliance. Beginning in December, January, we sent out notices, encouraged people either to pay the amount or to get on a payment plan. The truth of the matter is we have a significant number of people that are on a payment plan, and many of them just took advantage of what we offered at the time. I cannot vouch for whether they were truly in need or not. That's a difficult question to answer. I know that on a weekly basis, we have several people who fall at least 2 months behind and get their water cut off, and we are dealing with those on a weekly basis, but it's not a huge number at this point that are unable to pay their water bills.
Okay. Do you have a percentage of how many are actually homesteaded properties and how many are rental properties?
I believe, I think Ms. Paradise can correct me here, but I think it's something on the order of 70% homestead and 30% rentals.
I was actually...
Or non-homestead, let me rephrase that.
I was referring to residents that are behind on the water bills.
Pardon me?
Do you have a figure of how many residents that are behind on water bills that are
No, sir, I didn't. I'm not, because I was not prepared for that question. Then I could have had a number for you if I had known in advance.
Okay. Because my biggest concern, if we stay at the millage rate of 7.85, Myself, I'm not going to get affected. I've been homesteaded 20 years. If my bill goes up $30, that's it. What we need to look at is if you go back to the rollback rate of 71814, there's only about a $3 million difference. And even at the rollback rate, you're going to generate $1.25 million more because taxable values went up. And then, I asked you if you went through the budget or have staff go through the budget to see what projects were needed for this year. I mean, a couple of things I'm looking at, the park superintendent, we're adding more staff, another manager, $91,000 plus benefits, plus a truck. We've got the transport vehicle that's $370,000 that was slated from the general fund, which was paid this year through the fire impact fees, and it came out of the transport fee. So that's $370 that should be pulled out of the budget for next year. You got electric gates at 3 parks for $150,000. I don't think we need electric gates at 3 parks this year. You got a football field upgrade of $350, and then you got additional code enforcement, which I discussed last time. You have had probably consistencies of 3 openings this year that you can't fill those positions that you've already budgeted for, but yet you want to budget for 7 more, and you're going to charge taxpayers for those 7 positions this year. What if you don't fill them? I mean, that's more money that just gets swept into the following year. So, I have my concerns about the budget, and to be honest with you, I think we could have done a better job with it this year. And I'll leave my comments there.
If I may address a couple of the comments. The additional Parks and Rec staff and the code enforcement staff. If you drive around the city, we have a significant number of code violations that we have not been able to keep up with. We have provided you the statistics that the non-homestead rental properties typically result in twice as many code violations and twice as much crime, 2.5% times the drug issues as homestead property. We know we have a problem. We've been discussing a rental license program to account for that. That is something that we're committed to doing the coming year. But our parks are not in great shape. They need TLC. And then once we do the TLC, we're going to have some capital costs that we need to spend to get our parks up to a standard that our residents can be happy with. Let me remind you that there are 3 accreditation processes that we will be going through this coming year. First, it's the fire department. We are working to get our fire department to I believe to be the only accredited fire department in Volusia County. We are working to get our code enforcement accredited so that we are meeting national standards. And then lastly, we are looking to make our Parks and Rec department accredited. In the fire department, things such as response times, staffing levels, those types of things will be dealt with as part of the accreditation. We know we have some issues in those areas. With regard to Parks and Recreation, there will be standards with regard to the maintenance and other elements of Parks and Recreation. The additional staff is just giving us a head start on where we need to go in both of those departments. With regard to not being able to fill positions, that's a big reason we came back and recommended $15 an hour. It is a significant increase in pay for some of these positions. In addition, we are changing our processes to where in the past, if you had a vacancy, it was almost mandatory you had to pay at the minimum pay. Now, you may have somebody with 10 years experience in another organization, and we didn't pay accordingly. So we are having a job fair on September 30th at the center. I encourage anybody looking for a job with the city of Deltona to come and fill out an application, and in many cases we'll actually do the interviews on site. But at $15 an hour, we are competitive to where we now will be able to fill those vacancies. I agree, we have a lot of vacancy, but a lot of that has to do with our pay scale was or is now. And with the approval of the budget, we will be able to start giving people $15 an hour so that we are competitive. We have fallen behind many of our neighboring communities. In Deltona Water, I know that there's a number of communities around us that are already at $15 an hour, and we have a very difficult time filling positions in that department. So,
Well, I'm going to expand on that then. Do you have any accountability right now for Parks and Recs? You said you want to start holding the crews accountable next year. Is there any accountability this year?
yes, sir, we are putting processes in place. One of the things that we are looking to do is to have a crew assigned to a specific park or several parks, so that if any of y'all drive by a park and it's not in good shape, or if I drive by one, we know what crew is responsible for that park, and there will be accountability. So yes, sir, we're putting the processes in place for accountability.
So you have none at this time?
That's not accurate, sir. We do. We're just improving it.
Okay. Now, talking about staffing issues and the $15 an hour, like I said last time, you and I had a one-on-one, and I talked to several former employees, and money wasn't always the number one factor. So I've already talked to you that in one-on-one, so I don't think, throwing money at it's going to fix it. But I will say that I did read an article. I believe the land is in the same position we are, where they're looking for, staffing. And I've heard, talking to other people, different municipalities face the same deal. So I don't think it's just a money problem either.
You good, Commissioner? Yes. Okay, Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Peters, I want you to work with me here on some things. So I received calls from some of the residents, and they are very confused, and that's why they are so nervous about this topic. So right now, the current rate is 7.85.
That is correct.
If we roll it back to 7.18, that is a difference of 9.31%.
That is correct.
If we leave it the way it is, it's still 7.85. Am I correct? If we don't do a rollback, it'll stay at 7.85, which is the current rate.
I believe I understand what you're saying, but the commission can set any rate between the rollback and the 7.85 as you choose. It is the recommendation of staff, and it's the prior vote of the commission on the first reading of this that we stay at 7.85 millage rate.
But if we stay at if the commission votes on 7.85, it leaves it as is. There is no increase. Am I correct, Mr. Peters?
There's no increase in the actual amount of the millage. 7.85 stays the same.
Right. So we are not increasing the rate by 9.31, which is what I am being told by my residents. Why are you increasing my rate by 9.31? That is not correct.
No, ma'am. I think the 9.31 is the difference in the revenue that it produced between the two millage rates.
And I just want you to clarify that so they can understand it. I know what this is all about, but they're sort of confused when they see that increase, 9.31. All they're seeing is increase, 9.31. So I just want to, if anybody's watching that have called me, to understand we are not increasing it at 9.31. So if there are no other questions, may I like to make a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, you can go ahead and make a motion, then we'll
Okay, thank
continue
you.
with the questions.
I move to approve resolution number 2021-51, adopting the final millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2021-2022. Upon approval of this item, authorizes any and all necessary actions, documents, or budget transfers to facilitate commission approval, and further authorizes the acting city manager to sign any documents necessary for further commission approval of this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Villa-Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner McCool. Let's go back to my board. Commissioner Sosa.
Just for clarification, we are not increasing the rate of 785, but the rollback rate, if you use the rollback rate of 7184, that would keep the same tax rate you had last year because of the taxable values. Your taxable values went up, so if you keep it at 785, it is a 9.3% increase in taxes. If you go back to rollback rate of 71814, it is not an increase in taxes, but because of the extra revenue that is generated on properties, you will see a $1.25 million increase in the budget for ad valorem taxes. So yes, if you do not go to rollback, it is a tax increase.
And before we move on to a vote, I would just like to clarify, I have my tax bill in front of me. And for full disclosure, the house has been homesteaded since 1982 when it was built. So my property tax to the city of Deltona last year with 7.85 mils was $217.48. City of Deltona only. If we keep the same 7.85 mils this year, because of what I explained before, the 1.4% taxable value in the assessed value increase, my house can only go up 1.4% per the state of Florida because it's a homesteaded house. So my taxes with staying at 7.85 will be $226.08, an increase of $8.60. And that reflects the 1.4% increase in assessed value for my home because it's homesteaded. If we go to the rollback rate, and the millage is a multiplier, the millage rate, to be clear, not for everyone here, but for anyone who's listening and watching, in order to bring in the same amount of money that we brought in last year, if we have the same budget as last year, no increase, the budget stays flat, we go to the rollback rate. The rollback rate would be the 7.1812. So if we go to the rollback rate for this year, my tax bill, instead of $217.48, it will be $206.82, and I will save $10.66 to go to the rollback rate. And I will go up $8.60 if we stay with the same millage rate. The millage rate is a multiplier. And both of you commissioners are correct. The millage rate is not increasing. However, with the same millage rate, you bring in additional money because of the taxable value of your home has gone up. And just to say the same thing that I said last time, when you get devalued, and I was here for that, got on the commission right at the squeaky beginning of that mess in 2010. City of Deltona was devalued 20%, 22%, 20%, 62%. Our property values were cut 62% in 3 years. There's no backstop to reduce your home value. There's the stop in increasing it if you're homesteaded. But just because you're homesteaded doesn't mean your value doesn't drop. And that is why the last time we were here, I explained that in 2007, our millage rate was 3.28. And in 2008, it went up to 4.15. And it did that because the state allowed us to have an additional $25,000 in deduction, in a homestead deduction. So my taxable value back then in 2008 at 4.15 mils was $91,385 on that house. Right now, in 2021, at 7.85 mils, my taxable value on my home is $79,300. In 2008, it was $91,000. In 2021, it's $79,300. And that's because of the 62% devaluation over that time period. So when I say millage is a multiplier, that's what it means. And that is how we balance or present a budget. And I've said this before, and I'll save this for the budget comment. Am I happy with everything that's in this budget? No. Do I have confidence that in 3 months we will have a true up and see where we are? Because I asked for that last year and never got it a year ago in January. So I expect every quarter that management comes to this commission and gives us some sort of an indicator where we are with these projects that we don't have to roll over. The last thing I want to say is, how many employees did we have in 2008 and 2010 compared to the employees that we have now? Are we still down about 100 employees? At the height of our income for the city and the higher assessed values of our homes, we had about 100 more employees than we do now. And that's, if you look at the population and the demands on what we have to do, it's a big difference. Commissioner Sosa, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, you're right. When you say I'm not going to see a big increase in my tax bill, I won't. I've been here 20 years. I'm homesteaded. Like Mr. Peter said, 30% of the properties out there are rental properties. So most of this, additional cost on ad valorem taxes is going to affect the owners of those rental properties. He's going to have to eat those costs. And when he eats those costs, he's just not going to eat them. He's going to do what? He's going to pass them on down to the person renting that house. So between businesses and folks renting houses are going to take up the big chunk of this additional increase. I myself, like you said, I haven't looked at my property taxes. You can probably look at them and tell me what I'm going to pay, but I don't think it's going to be $7 or $10 more than what I paid last year. So, I'm not looking out for me. I'm looking out for the residents of the community. And even at rollback rate, we are still going to see a net increase of $1.25 million. Even with inflation over last year's budget at 3%, would be absorbed with $1.25 million. I think we've added, a lot of positions and a lot of equipment to this budget that maybe should have been phased in over the years. You're right. Maybe we had more staff in 2008, and in the last 13 years we haven't gotten up to it. Maybe we didn't need it. Maybe a lot of those fell off to the side due to attrition. So, people are going to staff what they need. And I know we have a lot of vacancies now, so I'm not sure if you're going back to 2008 FTEs versus, 2021 FTEs. I'm not sure where your number is. That's 100, but, I know I can think of maybe a couple dozen. I don't know about 100, but I'll just leave it there.
No, but I'd like to have those numbers. I would like to have those numbers for future reference. Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool?
Madam Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to speak to one thing that was mentioned regarding, rental property and landlords passing on the buck to, when we're talking about our rental licenses and passing on the buck to, the people that rent the properties, okay? Shame on them. But also, we need this because I, in the last month, have walked into some of the most deplorable conditions that I've ever seen that landlords call themselves taking care of a home, and that people that are disadvantaged have been living in. So we want to talk about accountability. There are great landlords in our town, but there's also crap slumlords in this town also. And there's a portion of people that have seen photos from the property that I'm talking about. So if we can't disparage accountability as far as that goes, and people need to report those landlords. My email is dmccool@deltonafl.gov. That is my email. We're talking about taking care of our constituents. If you see what I walked into with some people that were mentally disadvantaged were living in, you'd be ashamed. You'd be shocked and you'd be sick, just like I am. So we need that accountability when we're talking about that. So I just don't even want to hear us, challenging that. Shame on them for passing the buck on. But there are a lot of properties that we've had to abate that we have statistics on. And something that is also pretty crappy too is that it was intimated that the city manager, when he talked about that he was somehow racist, or he was talking about a lower society, or made disparaging remarks, and that's crap also. So I'm just putting that out for the record as well. We have neighbors calling in because landlords won't take care of their property. There are little old people that we're talking about protecting living in these homes when you talk about socially disadvantaged. So they need to step up to the plate and calling it out, and we're talking about accountability, period, all the way around. So I just kind of wanted to bring that out also when we're talking about that. The money that we spend on abatement, the money that we never recover, $700,000, is that still the amount of people walking out on water bills, like leaving, renters leaving? What is the number? $500,000 do we have people walking out on water bills? Mr. Peters?
Can you ask that one more time?
The money, the amount, water bills that were walked out on, that we were left, the city, $700,000 at one time. What is it now?
It ended up being, I believe, in the $300,000 because a significant number of people did come in and make a payment plan. So that is being paid back, but the number going to be in the $300,000 range that we lost.
And that's cumulative. So, I just wanted to bring, I felt really compelled to bring that up also. Don't get me wrong, there are fantastic landlords, in our community that make sure that people have a safe living environment, but the ones that are bad, and they need to be called out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. City Attorney, Mr. Fowler, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. A resolution 2021-51, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, adopting an ad valorem millage rate for the 2021-2022 fiscal year and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. And because we have a participant, the Vice Mayor by Zoom, we will do a voice vote alphabetically, correct, Liz? Okay. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
No.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor?
I think you're muted.
Is your vote yes, Mayor? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, and the motion passes 5-0. The City of Deltona has adopted a millage rate of 7.85 mils for fiscal year 2021-2022. The millage rate reflects a 9.31% increase from the rolled back rate of 7.1812 mils. Now we will move on to the next item, which is public hearing resolution number 2021-35. Oh, I'm sorry, -52, 2021-52, adopting the final annual budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. The proposed annual budget is summarized as follows. General fund, $94,007,459. Special revenue funds, $39,901,175. Enterprise funds, $49,320,202. Capital project funds, $9,297,885, for a total citywide budget of $192,526,721. The floor is now open to hear public comments and to take any questions from the public. Has anyone signed up to speak on the budget?
No, Mayor.
Seeing no one, we'll close the public participation portion of this hearing. City Commissioners, do we have any? Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 2021-52, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, and upon approval of this item, authorize any and all necessary actions, documents, or budget transfer to facilitate commission approval, and further authorize the acting city manager to sign any documents necessary to further commission approval of this item.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. Commissioner Sosa.
Yeah. Mayor, I know you said there's some things in this budget you don't agree with. Maybe we should point them out.
I'll be happy to do that.
And reduce this budget and give our residents a tax break. I'm sure there are probably quite a few things in there that I would agree with you on. And I think, going forward, I know some people are saying we kicked the can down the road. I don't think we've kicked the can down the road in all cases. I think we have in some, not this commission, but, previous commissions. And I don't look as, putting things off till next year as kicking the can down the road. It's called prioritizing, especially when you're trying to fix, a good chunk of parks at $400,000 a piece. I don't think that's kicking the can down the road. I think it's called prioritizing which ones need the most work first. And I definitely do not agree with putting the $10 million for the Rhode Island extension in this budget at this time without any documentation. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll be happy to answer that. First of all, regarding the $10 million for Rhode Island, if you would look at the verbiage when a motion is made, and there was verbiage in our previous motions that gave pretty much carte blanche to the city manager to not bring things back. That has been removed. So anything over $25,000 should be coming back to the commission. That can be vetoed. So those $10 million that are in there for the Rhode Island extension have to be okayed by the city commission. By approving it and putting it in the budget does not make it so. The city manager has authorization up to $25,000. Anything over that is required to come to the city commission for approval. So just because it's in the budget does not mean the commission will, at that time, when it comes forward, necessarily approve it. Things can change, as we saw. Who would have thought we would be where we are now, in the middle of a pandemic still? Nobody could have predicted that last year. So when you look at that, the commission has the ultimate say-so on what we approve and what we don't, and what we spend our money on and what we don't. So I support having the money in there. Would I vote for it when it comes up? I can say now, yes. 6 months, who knows? You don't know how things change. We could have 2 or 3 hurricanes in a row and have a very, very tight fiscal situation if a lot of things happen to the city of Deltona with a natural disaster. You don't know that. So then you would put something like that off and have to reallocate your finances. And as far as the things that I'm not 100% happy with, I'll agree with you, sir. It's some of the staffing issues. But I am willing, because I know how much we're down on staff, and I know how difficult it's been to get staff, I'm willing to give Mr. Peters and his team a shot to hire that extra staffing and see where we are. Are we able to do that? But for me, the condition on the extra staffing comes with training. To hire bodies and not have training and accountability, I can't go for that, and I've stated that before. So I don't know that we're all that different in what we think about that, but we're also going to have quarterly reviews, and we'll see where we are after our job fair. And I'll be looking in 6 months to see, with those extra people in parks, what do our parks look like? What do our streets look like? What's our code situation? That'll be the determining factor for me. So, seeing as we have no more comments and questions, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Fowler, would you read the title of the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2021-52, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, adopting the final annual general fund, special revenue funds, enterprise fund, and capital project funds budgets for the fiscal year beginning October the 1st, 2021, and ending September the 30th, 2022, providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you, sir. And now we'll go ahead and again have a voice vote for the budget.
Commissioner Villa Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-1. Now we'll move on to item C, is a public hearing, resolution number 2021-35, a conditional use request for a daycare facility located at 988 Elkham Boulevard. Mr. Paradise? And is the applicant here as well? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron Paradise, Plan Development Services. For the record, resolution number 2021-35 is a conditional use request for a daycare facility at 988 Elkham Boulevard. As you all know, this property was once used as a house of worship, the First Church of Christ Scientist. The goal of the requester, which is Trinity Church, is to repurpose the site for a daycare. And what they want to do is they want to relocate some of their daycare operations that's at their current campus at 875 Elkham Boulevard to this site on 988 Boulevard. According to the DCF papers, the daycare facility or this site can accommodate about 70 children at max. Utilities will be central water, served by Deltona Water. On the 16th of August, the City Commission did approve the ability to use an advanced aerobic wastewater on-site treatment facility at this address. City staff and the Planning and Zoning Board recommend the City Commission approve the request subject to the following conditions, and I'll kind of go through and paraphrase those conditions. That a new business tax receipt will need to be applied for prior to relocation of the daycare facility from 875 Elkham Boulevard to 988 Elkham Boulevard. The applicant must connect essential sewer when service becomes immediately available. Immediately available means either side of the road and at the property. However, to ensure city environmental protection goals are implemented, the on-site wastewater treatment facility will be an advanced treatment aerobic system. The applicant shall maintain the existing 25-foot side and rear yard buffers that are naturally vegetated. Furthermore, the applicant is required to plant shrubs within the 25-foot landscape buffer between the drive aisles along Elkham Boulevard, consistent with the shrub density of Table 110-5 of the city's Land Development Code. Also required to provide foundation plantings. And finally, the city is going to require that the dumpster be enclosed with a code-compliant dumpster enclosure. And the intent here is to improve the aesthetics of the Elkham Boulevard corridor. Finally, prior to certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide, we talked about the dumpster enclosure. This is a conditional use. According to the city's code, it's going to require a supermajority of 5 votes of the City Commission to approve this. I'd be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this use.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool, and then Commissioner Avila-Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron, a couple of questions. So the staff says that this is that it is your recommendation that this use is consistent with a comprehensive plan as for traffic, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Air quality?
Yes, ma'am.
Odor control?
Yes, ma'am.
Noise control?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to ask about the noise control. I know that it was a house of worship before, but is there anyone withstanding that would have a problem with this, the noise or anything?
Not to my knowledge, especially with the buffers in place to, provide some separation between like a playground facility and the residents to the north and east and west.
Okay, and I'm guessing that I'm looking at the lighting noise also, right? It will not illuminate, you say, on adjacent properties?
Yeah, we don't anticipate this will be a regular business hour use.
Okay. What is the Public Works Department, what is their written recommendation to the DRC? I mean, I'm just trying to, as far as it goes with centralized septic or their on-site septic and centralized sewer.
What the city's comprehensive plan requires is an analysis by the Public Works Department to review a request to use an on-site septic system or on-site wastewater treatment system in lieu of connection to central sewer. And there are several parameters that the Public Works Department looks at. One is the feasibility and the location of the nearest central sewer facility, which in this case was about a mile away at the intersection of Elkham and Providence. Another is, the environmental impacts of the use of an on-site wastewater treatment facility and ways to mitigate those. And that report was prepared by the DRC. The DRC did render a recommendation to this body, and that recommendation was upheld by the City Commission on the 16th of August.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious. I mean, I've read public health safety. I've read all this. I'm all for daycare, and I just have questions. And maybe you can answer. What clientele is this daycare serving? And I know it says 70 kids. Are they going to be? I know that it's part of Trinity Church. Am I to understand that? So the children that come here, are these going to be? Tell me whose children that will serve.
A similar question was broached at the Planning and Zoning Board. However, I'll just relay that to you all, that the applicant did indicate that it's not necessarily church members. It could be, anybody within the community. But I'm going to defer that to the applicant.
I would like to hear that, please.
Do I need to state my name? Karen Nair, and I'm the headmaster at Trinity Christian Academy.
Can you talk into the mic just a little bit more so we can hear?
Sure.
Thank you.
As far as that question goes, Trinity Christian Academy is a part of Trinity Church, but we serve anyone. It doesn't have to be church related at all. This daycare is an extension of Trinity Christian Academy, so it's open to all.
Does Trinity offer, and I just am trying to get myself familiar, okay, so does Trinity offer scholarships for, or there's voucher system or scholarships for the daycare there that this will serve?
Yes.
So this is open, right, to any child anywhere?
ma'am.
It's not just a private
No.
daycare?
No,
Okay.
it's open to anyone. Currently, we have about 100 students in our 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old program, and some of those would be housed there.
And you are the headmaster there,
Yes.
you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Bless your heart. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. How far is this daycare going to be from the actual Trinity school? Is it close to the school, or is it a distance?
I think it's a little less than a mile.
Less than a mile. All right. Mayor, I would like to make a motion. Okay. Oh, wow, how many are there? Okay. I hereby move to approve resolution number 2021-35, granting a conditional use for a daycare facility located at 988 Elkham Boulevard with the following conditions. 1, a new business tax receipt will need to be applied for prior to the relocation of the daycare center from 875 Elkham Boulevard to 988 Elkham Boulevard. 2, the applicant must connect to central sewer when service becomes immediately available. Immediately available means on either side of the road. 3, the applicant shall maintain the existing 25 feet side and rear buffers naturally vegetated. The applicant will be required to plant shrubs within the front 25 feet landscape buffer between the 2 drive aisles at the shrub density per table 110-5 in section 110-808, as well as provide foundation plantings along the front of the building which faces the street or parking area per section 110-808 F1A of the city's land development code. 4, prior to certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide an appropriate dumpster location and enclosure in accordance with section 110-808I of the City of Deltona Land Development Code. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections or grievance, errors, and the like.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner Sosa. I think it's 110-808J.
Yes, it is.
Can we correct
Thank you
that?
for the clarification.
We good with correcting that to 1? Commissioner Sosa, it's 110-808J. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone from the public signed up to speak on this matter?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. Mr. Fowler, would you like to read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2021-35, a resolution of the City of Deltona, Florida, granting a conditional use to permit a daycare center within an R1-A single-family district for property located at 988 Elkham Boulevard within the City of Deltona, providing conditions, conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, sir. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Okay, the motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to item D, public hearing resolution number 2021-36, a request to amend resolution number 2020-01, approved on March 16, 2020, for a community residential home conditional use to provide a wider range of client services at 2001 Dalton Avenue. Mr. Paradise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution number 2021-36 is a request to amend an existing resolution number 2020-01 that was approved this site for a community residential home to allow the provision of a wider range of client services at the community residential home. Community residential home is located at 2001 Dalton Avenue and is located at the corner of Dalton Avenue and Sullivan Street, just south of the LCAM corridor, kind of in the same neighborhood as the last conditional use request. The community residential home was approved with several conditions. One condition being the facility can only serve clients or residents with minimal to moderate disabilities. And this nomenclature, this disability gradation, is promulgated by the State Agency for Persons with Disabilities. While the subject condition was to better define the scope of the CRH at the address, it did not take into account the fact that personal conditions associated with the residents can and do change. Basically, the residents at 2001 Dalton represent a de facto family unit. The residents have become comfortable with each other, the staff, and their surroundings. Basically, implementing literally this condition could create a condition where a resident or residents may need to be removed from this family unit and relocated elsewhere to another facility or another home. I would consider the fact that circumstances change in people's lives, but stability is important. I kind of consider this situation as analogous to an elderly couple or an elderly individual wishing to age in place. Their needs are going to change, but they're comfortable with their surroundings. With that being said, staff suggests the condition limiting client care needs to be replaced with the following condition. The community residential home may serve adults in accordance to Agency for Persons with Disabilities established residential habitation levels of supports as it may be amended from time to time. This will allow the agencies for persons with disabilities to make a determination about when, where, and what type of care is required and needed. I'd be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this. Again, this is a conditional use approval. It is going to require a 5-vote supermajority of the City Commission.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hey, Ron, so the agencies will approve the actual condition or supervise the condition of the right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. And I just want to know, is the level, I'm sure the level of care there, right? There is an experience there. Is the applicant here?
The applicant is here, and they can speak to some of these questions.
I would like to speak with the applicant.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
Your name and address for the record.
My name is Jennifer Sullivan, 3189 Oak Lane, Edgewater, 32132.
Okay. So, Jennifer, my question is more to you or to educate myself, right? I know that we approved, and I'm understanding that the level of care is there to supervise the change, right? I understand wanting to stay in place, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
Make me comfortable with that in terms that I understand. Ron talks too smart for me sometimes, so
Okay.
can tell me in layman's terms what's going on?
The level of care is definitely high. It's consistent. It's exceptional, as a matter of fact. We have 24/7 staffing. All of our staff is trained. Our training is monitored through the Agency with Persons with Disabilities. All of the clients that we have now will stay. We just want them to be able to stay through different changes in their levels of disabilities. Staff will not increase, traffic won't increase. Everything at the house will remain the same except that piece of paper that says they can stay there.
Yeah,
nothing really is going to change at all at 2001 Dalton.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to understand and for our public to understand. So I'm asking questions, right, for our public also. I know, and I've read the report, that there have been no reports of, code enforcement, no reports of law enforcement, nothing to report.
Nothing.
So yeah, exactly. So I want our public to be comfortable with the fact you know what you're doing, you want to take care of your residents, and none of those other mitigating factors are happening. So
Yes, ma'am.
you've explained in terms, so is it the level, I guess, of physical care that might change, or is it the level of mental capacity?
As mental capacities change and as they come in, they require different levels of personal care, medication administration, things like that. But our staff is trained from the very minimal to the most complex. And we would just be giving more time to that specific client for a specific thing. It might not necessarily be the disability itself and a medical reason. It just might mean they need more help showering, they need more help preparing their meals, they need just more of our assistance while we're there. So just the percentage goes more to the higher level of care to that patient rather than the other ones.
And it is absolutely 100% understood that this is regulated and will be visited by the Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities. They oversee. So I just want the public to understand that also, correct?
Yes, ma'am. We have monthly monitorings with APD. Our paperwork gets checked, and we have a yearly licensing with them to renew our license to serve our clients.
Thank you and your staff for all that you do, really, for taking care of our most vulnerable of residents and giving them a home that they can be comfortable at. So thank you. Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner King?
Let me ask the question in a different way.
Okay.
Because this is my concern too. And, I had both of my parents in a facility, and as they got older and things that they couldn't do anymore, the care had to increase, obviously. At what point does the care become so great that they have to move from your facility?
That's not really determined by us personally. Each client is supported through the Agency with Persons with Disabilities. They put them through like QSIs, things like that. They have yearly support plan updates in which they reassess their goal progress. And if things are declining and they need more medical care, of course, and things like that, it'll be the APD decision based on what their recommendation is to us, and then that person might possibly have to go to a different facility to get better care. Us at the house, we're always going to follow that recommendation and do what's in the best interest of our clients.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay?
That answers it.
Okay. Vice Mayor, did you want to speak?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can understand. I was in a position of this when it came up before, and I still have concerns about the parking. So as your needs increase, I'm sure you will, again, have additional staff. And that could be additional medical attention and individuals showing up to the property. Have they increased their parking? Have they done the proper permitting? If they do need additional parking, I guess my concern is, just like a assisted living, ACA does regulate them, but at a certain stage, they're not allowed to go to those homes. So at what stage, again, I guess that's kind of critical to know, like, we haven't had any incidents there, which I'm very happy about, but our goal is to make sure that we don't get any incidents there and that everybody there is protected and Again, adequate parking, adequate staff, all of that has to be looked into, and we're making a decision kind of blind here to increase capacity on a facility.
No, we're not. It's not capacity.
That seems like we have approved it because it was a less medical, I don't know, not a high-risk facility. So has the parking situation been rectified? Do you guys have adequate parking for the increase that you're going to be having there?
Just to clarify, there is no increase in the number of residents that will be served here, and there will be no increase in the staff demands. So the parking situation should not change beyond what is available at the site today.
Okay, so I'm really confused because we're talking about having these individuals stay, whether she just specified that they're going to need more attention put on this person than this person, which if I had a staff of, say, 2 people, and then I was going to increase the care that a couple of my residents were going to have, I would think that I would be increasing staff to make sure that I'm still giving adequate support to all my staff. So I personally find it hard to believe that as you take on more demanding residents that you don't need an increase in staff, or that we don't have a list of, having ambulances or anything show up. So so what you're saying is we're going to give them the opportunity to keep individuals that are going to be more needy, but not increase staff. I definitely don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, we had some of the same questions along those lines, and we have been assured that their staff is capable to provide this higher level of care needed to facilitate working with these residents.
That's all I have.
Commissioner, thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to add, having a little bit of experience with hospice, pretty much what they're asking is bridging that gap. And I have to tell you the difficulty of it is sometimes in some of these facilities when the individual can actually stay there, but because they don't have that ability to stay there because of the documentation, then it becomes a challenge to find a spot of where do you put these residents at. But Vice Mayor, to your point, I think what she's saying is the staff and working with different agencies, these staffs are very qualified. And I think all they're asking is to be able to bridge that gap so those individuals, whenever that time comes, don't necessarily have to move. And I think it's more a benefit for the residents than it is for them, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, seeing as no more comments from the commission, is there any member from the public that filled out a public speaking form for this?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. So basically, we're going to need a motion in a second, commissioners, but before that, you're basically looking at changing the category with the state of what type of care can be administered in this home.
That is correct, yes. It'll allow a higher level of care for some of the residents.
Okay, and just to be clear, that's not something the city has anything to do with. This is a state function, and the state regulates these homes and has the mandates as to which category your residents fall under. And so you're just basically seeking to expand the category. Yes. Okay. Per the state. And in order for you to be able to continue to care for people that may need a different form of care, you have to have this allowed per the state of Florida. Yes. Correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion and a second?
Madam Mayor, I hereby move to approve Resolution 2021-36, amending condition number 4 of Resolution 2020-01 approved by the City Commission on March 16, 2020 for the community residential home located at 2001 Dalton Avenue as follows. The dwelling shall serve no more than 6 residents within the dwelling. Number 2, all residents and related services shall be directly associated with and regulated by the Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities. 3, the CRH remains under exceptional care within your reach management and ownership. And that's a very important one. Sorry, Number 4, the CRH is used only to serve minimal to moderate developmentally disabled adults as defined and regulated by the Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities. The CRH may serve adults in accordance to APD's established residential habitation levels of support, as may be amended from time to time. And 5, no signage shall be allowed besides what is allowed for a home occupation. The acting city manager has the authority to make correctioners or scriveners errors and the like.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner McCool, seconded by Commissioner Ramos.
Madam Mayor, just as a clarification, what was read into the record was the existing conditions associated with the Dalton CRH. Number 4 would change from the CRH is used only to serve minimal to moderate developmentally disabled adults as defined and regulated by the Florida Agency for Persons with Disability. That would be stricken. The new language would read, the CRH may serve adults in accordance to APD's established residential habilitation levels of supports as may be amended from time to time.
Commissioner McCool, are you okay with the change for Mr. Paradise?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos, for your second? Yes. City Clerk, you have the change. May we read the resolution, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2021-36. A resolution of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the conditional use approved by the City Commission under Resolution 2020-01 for a community residential home within an R1A single-family residential zoning district for the property located at 2001 Dalton Avenue within the City of Deltona, providing for conditions, conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, sir. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Was that a no or a yes from the Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 7-0. Next up, we will have a public hearing on item E, ordinance number 04-2021, amending Chapter 45 of the City Code of Ordinances dealing with panhandling at second and final reading. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I make a motion I hereby to move adopt ordinance number 04-2021 at second and final reading, updating City Code of Ordinance Chapter 45, panhandling. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections, scrivener's errors, and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos. Commissioner King, were you the second? Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. Is there anyone from the public that wanted to speak on this item to open the public hearing on the panhandling? No? Then we're going to go ahead and close the public comment portion of the hearing. Commissioner Ramos, you're still on the board? No? Yes? No? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. We have gone through the public comment portion of the item. Seeing as there are no other speakers on my board, Mr. Fowler, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ordinance 04-2021, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending Chapter 45, panhandling of the Deltona Code of Ordinances, making findings, providing for definitions, prohibiting certain acts, and providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, sir. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move on to item F, also a public hearing, ordinance number 05-2021, granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, an electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise for second and final reading. I understand we have the applicants here for that. Do we have any comments from the commission. We had first reading on this. This is second reading to approve this ordinance. Mr. Peters, any comments?
No, ma'am, nothing has changed since the first reading, so we're recommending approval.
Okay, commissioners, I will ask, is there anyone from the general public that wants to speak on this item?
No, Mayor.
And we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. We need a motion and a second if you have no questions, commissioners. Who's on my board? Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hereby move to adopt ordinance number 05-2021, granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, DBA Duke Energy, an electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise for second and final reading. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections and scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner King. May we read the ordinance, please, Mr. Fowler?
Yes, ma'am. Ordinance 05-2021. Amending ordinance number 31-2011 of the City of Deltona, granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, an electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise, prescribing the terms and conditions related to the occupancy of municipal streets and rights-of-way in the City of Deltona, Florida, for the purpose of providing electric service, providing for severability of provisions, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, sir. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Now we will move on to the next item, old business. There is no old business for the evening, so we move on to new business. Item 8A is approval of budgeted purchases for fiscal year 21-22. Mary, this is you, correct? Mr.
Yes,
Peters?
ma'am. This is a new one for you all. As part of our following processes with the city manager, only has authority for $25,000. Every year, typically after the budget is approved, we do a lot of purchase orders for annual purchases. They exceed $25,000, so we are providing you a list of purchase orders to be approved.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, if we have any comments, these are purchase orders. Several of these are on afterwards. Commissioner Sosa?
So basically, if we approve this list right now, you will not bring them back to us?
In fact, now there's a couple of items in here that require a vote here in a few minutes, but that's the contract for Georgia McCune and the contract for the city attorney. But those purchase orders are annual contracts, so with this approval, our staff will be issuing the purchase orders to the various companies so that, for instance, if the Deltona Water needs rock for or pipes, so that type of thing is covered in the purchase orders, and they can have them delivered without having to go through a full purchasing process. It saves quite a bit of time for staff.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, no other comments. Is there anyone that has signed up for the public comment portion of this item?
No, Mayor.
And we'll close the public hearing on this item. So, commissioners, we need a motion and a second for this item.
Mayor, are we doing it individually?
No,
One at a time?
it's the commission, the list for purchase orders. It's just for the list for purchases, the entire list.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the list of purchase for fiscal year 2021-2022.
Okay, is there a second? I'll go ahead and second that. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. We've gone through the public comment. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 6-1. And now we'll move on to item B. which is approval of Accentria public risk coverage premiums. This is for our health insurance. The vendor is Cigna for health and dental, and this expires at the end of 2021. So we are looking at, right, Mr. Peters, you want to clarify?
Yes, ma'am. These are various insurance programs, and they all have different expiration dates. As you noticed, the second one expires on September 30th. And some of them have increases and some of them had decreases, but these are all budgeted in the approved budget.
Okay, we'll go to the public hearing. Is there any member from the public that asked to speak for this item?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the hearing. Commissioners, do you have any other questions on this item? Because this is one vendor that's providing all this, sir. Am I correct? Mr. Peters, one vendor?
Yes, ma'am.
Accentria Public Risk. So this is the one vendor that is providing all these, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor would like to speak?
I'm sorry?
Vice Mayor.
Oh, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just curious if we received any other quotes, because I know last year this was brought up to us at the last week, hence like this is. And when we questioned the increase, we were told there was not enough time to get any more estimates on this. So I'd like to know where we were at with, a comparison on the rates for the insurance.
Vice Mayor, from what I saw the proposal go out, and I know that we, and correct me if I'm wrong if this was not the one, but we did put this out. We had 3, we narrowed it down to 3, and this company was chosen, correct? Yes, it did go out publicly.
So it did go out.
It did go out. It went out in October of last year or something like that. And they went through the procurement process because I saw that. And there were, am I right, Mary? Yes. So it did go through the procurement process. And then it was taken down to 3 by the internal team, and then this vendor was chosen. Okay? Any other questions from anyone? If not, we need a motion and a second, Commission. Okay, we'll go ahead and skip this item and move on to the next if we don't have a motion and a second.
Mayor?
Yes?
I have my light on.
Oh, you're not lighting up, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, just say next time. Yeah,
okay.
I don't have anybody on here. No.
Okay, no problem. I move to approve the insurance rate renewals negotiated by the city's brokerage firm, Accentria Insurance. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner King, and we have nothing to read here, so may we vote, please?
Commissioner Bill Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to the next item. This is request for approval of a renewal of G.A. McEwen and Associate LLC agreement for consultants for state government relations and lobbying. Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. This is a continuation of the contract we currently have with Georgia McCune as our lobbyist. And our plan is that in the coming year that we will put this out to rebid for proposals. But Ms. McCune has done a wonderful job for us since I've been here. She is very good weekly calls during the legislative session. Whenever they have special meetings regarding legislative matters, she had kept it fully informed. But more important to me is she had brought home the money. Last several years, we got money for the Eastern Wastewater Plant, which helped defray the cost of expanding the plant capacity by 50%. So staff is recommending that we continue with this contract.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the annual renewal to G.A. McKeown and Associations ALC agreement for consultants for state government relations and lobbying.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner King. Do we have any members of the public that signed up to speak for this?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing, and there's nothing to read here, so may we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. And the one comment I'd like to make, Mr. Peters, when you are going to be putting this out to bid for the next year, please have staff clarify when session starts so that we have and when committee weeks start, so that we are not behind the 8 ball to put something out to bid and end up and have no lobbying services, because committee weeks people are in Tallahassee now already starting to go through the process. So if it expires at the end this time next year, we need to look into that, putting that out a lot sooner, that it goes through the process so that we have someone, if it's not this individual or this firm, someone in place by the time we need them in Tallahassee.
Madam Mayor, now the message is heard. My intention was, subject to Ms. McCune not being picked again, that there would be an overlap. So that, yes, not only will we have people there, but there'll be an overlap so that we make sure that the message that we have been putting out is carried over to the next fund.
Thank you, sir, because it keeps getting earlier and earlier in Tallahassee, and it just comes up quicker and quicker. We just want to make sure that we're not caught without service. Okay, next up, we have item D, approval of the contract for Fowler, Feeney and Associates, PA, for the city attorney. Mr. Peters.
Madam Mayor, we have a contract proposal from Fowler and Feeney and Associates. The original contract was approved in October 2017. And at that time, the Fowler firm was making $175 an hour. The last couple of years, they've been making $157 an hour. It's my personal opinion there was a Scrivener's error, but Mr. Fowler, to his credit, said that he signed it for $157 and they've been going at $157. He is proposing a rate of $215 an hour in comparison to other contractual city attorneys. This rate is very favorable compared to other communities.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any comments, any questions on this? Commissioner Sosa?
Don't hate me, Mr. Fowler.
What?
I'm having, we had in the budget here $600,000 for the attorney's contract that we just approved. Now, when I go back a couple pages here to the line items, it's up to $720,000. That's a $120,000 difference. Now, when you say we're at $720,000, is that the current rate that we're approving, sir, Mr. Peters?
That is correct, sir, and a big part of that is we have some very significant ordinances that we're working on this coming year. The first being the rental license program. That will be a difficult ordinance, but it's an important ordinance. The second one is we're looking at an ordinance potentially creating a fire district. The way the fire district works is the portion of the fire department budget that relates to fire control suppression, you charge all property owners a fee. That includes properties that don't currently pay an ad valorem tax. And then as part of creating a fire district, you lower the ad valorem taxes a proportionate amount to equate to the revenue that would be created by the fire district. These are important from a financial standpoint, as Commissioner King pointed out at the last meeting. We have been discussing the ideas of doing these things that would reduce the impact on the general fund. And so those ordinances are difficult. We also have some litigation out there that we're still trying to determine where it's going. The dollar amount is consistent with the hourly rate proposed and the amount of work that we expect.
Okay, so basically we're prepaying for at least 3,348 hours. Is that correct? I mean, that's the number I come up with on my calculator here, 3,348.84 hours at $720,000.
That number is accurate, and we do a purchase order, and we always hope we never reach that number, but the number is there in case we do need it.
Okay, and what was the contract agreement that he had in 2020? Was it $450,000?
I don't know.
I don't have that number in front of me, sir.
Okay, because I for some reason I remember seeing 450,000 somewhere, and to go to 720 is a $250,000 increase. And I'll be honest, I'd rather have Mr. Fowler get 450,000 and put 250,000 in a retainer fund for me down the road, because I got a feeling I may need it one day, sir. But I myself, I personally have a problem with the 720,000, and then also in the contract or in the budget here, you had another $70,000 allocated for the firefighters MOU coming up. So we're doing 720 for Mr. Fowler for the year, and then we're adding another 70 to that down the road. I was looking for it in here, and I can't find it again, but I had seen it.
You don't have to spend that money, and if God is on your side, you won't have near as many problems as could be anticipated. So it's a question not so much of how much was allocated, and I had nothing to do with that. So if you wish to save money, I guess you could kind of wing it on a few things, but there's a cost associated with that type of decision-making as well.
All right. Mr. Sosa, let me just say this. With regard to the firefighter negotiations, it is my intention to bring someone who specializes in fire contracts, especially this particular union. They're unique animals, and it's important that we have the legal resources of someone who has been through these type negotiations. So it is my intention that the legal fees related to the fire pension will be with another firm.
Okay. So one more question. Did Mr. Fowler come to you and say, I need 720 this year, or did you go to him and say, here's an extra $250,000?
Well, I'll answer that. What I did was tell him that I would like to increase the rate to the 215 number. It's a little over 4% a year from 2017. I suffered the last couple of years, and so this really amounts to approximately a 4.25% raise, year to year, year over year, for 5 years.
And the total number was based on prior billings.
Okay. Speaking of legal fees, I have a quick question. Where are we on that $200,000? How much have we spent out of that was designated for the Hickory Oaks? Have we spent any of that yet?
We have spent some of the money at this point, I believe. Well, I know we've been billed for some of the money. I'm not sure about how the finance department has handled it at this point. We have had some back and forth with regard to paperwork. And so, I know in terms of hours that could be put to that 200,000, we have put some. Mary, do you have an answer with regard to how we've been doing that? I apologize. We're trying to work from microphones on the table, and I believe she's having trouble.
Hello. I haven't specifically seen the invoices come through myself, but that's something I can easily check for you and let you know how much has been billed at this point.
All right, thank you.
You're all set, Commissioner Sosa? Commissioner McCool?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm going to withdraw because this is something that I need to sit down with city manager about, so.
Okay. Okay, do we have any members of the public that wanted to speak? We'll open the public comment portion of the hearing.
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of this hearing. So, Commissioners, we have we need a motion for the contract and a second. And if no one is going to make that motion for the contract, I will pass the gavel. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you're not here for that, so I will pass the gavel to Commissioner Ramos. And I move to approve the contract for Fowler, Feeney and Associates, PA, City Attorney, the Acting City Manager, as the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Have a motion by the mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
So we have a motion by the mayor and second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. We've done public comments, correct?
Yes.
Can we call for the roll vote?
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? No. Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2. Thank you. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, next item is item E, approval of memorandum of understanding memorializing the union's agreement to extend the deadline for the city completion of a wage and benefits study provided for in Article 17, Section 6 of the CBA collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Peters.
This one's been a long time coming. As you all know, we had as part of the collective bargaining agreement a provision in there to do a wage study comparing our fire department to, I believe, 12 other agencies. There was a company that did work about 13 months ago, and the commission wasn't happy with the result. They asked that it be put back out for another firm. We hired Archer and Associates, who completed their work in the spring. There was much discussion with regard to the lowest rate, what it was 13, I believe 27 versus 1346. And there was a lot of back and forth on that. And so when we came to the commission about adjusting the pay for all city employees to $15 an hour minimum, I made an offer to the union to accept the 1327, which would be retroactive back to October 1st of 2020. And then on October 1, they would go from $13.27 to $15 an hour. The memorandum of understanding also says that the $15 an hour, just like the rank and file employee, will be in lieu of a 3% pay adjustment that we have done traditionally. So we are recommending that you approve the memorandum of understanding to take the hourly rate from October 1 of 2020 to September 30th of 2021 to a rate of $13.27 with adjustments to all the other employees accordingly. And then effective October 1 of 2021, that would be adjusted another $1.73 to a minimum of $15 an hour for the lowest paid employees. And it also says that it is agreed that this is in lieu of a 3% pay adjustment that we typically have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool? Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
May I like to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Deltona and the Deltona Professional Firefighters, IFF Local 2913. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner Sosa. Do we have any members of the public that wanted to speak on this item?
Yes, Mayor. John Vaccaro, please.
John Vaccaro, Local 2913, Union President. Thank you for even considering this tonight. I appreciate the city manager for bringing this up. I said this in the past. It was never the intention of the union to withhold any increases to city employees. We've worked really hard to incorporate city employees. We lowered our rate from 5% to 3% to match city employees. We have, we initiated the bidding for health care and insurance. That was an initiative through our union contract, which additionally helped all city employees. The wellness initiative came from the union. There's just so many things we've been doing, and we appreciate working with the city manager on this. We do have a Me Too clause in our contract, so obviously if you did give it to the city employees, we would end up getting it at some point. But we felt this was the best way to do it through an MOU, resolve all the issues, and not withhold it from the city employees who we all know they really do need raises. We were the ones years ago who brought the wage survey out. We were excluded from it, but we did bring it out because we understand the loss of employees. We understand a living wage. And honestly, I really appreciate everybody even looking at this, considering this, and if you have any concerns or questions, please reach out to me or any of the people that work with me. We'd be more than happy to discuss it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That closes, Mayor.
Okay, that closes the public comment portion of the hearing. We have a motion and a second. Vice Mayor, you're good? Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second, and may we have the vote, please?
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Motion, excuse me, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank you, City Manager and City Attorney. And let's move on. Next, we have the public forum. And if you will go ahead and read who was signed up for public forum, you can come forth, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 4 minutes.
Dennis Wise and then Billy Fowler. Dennis Wise, please.
Oh, that's what this is.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Wise from 319 Mill Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. But tonight I'm here representing my company, Recyclops, and over 100 families and homes here in the greater Deltona area. You should have a packet of information there. This may be familiar to some of you. I think it was originally sent out in the March-April timeframe. And just want to kind of update you, give you some great news, what I think is great news tonight. Because we do have 100 homes and families that are coming to our website and signing up and wanting our services. Recyclops is an environmental firm that our tag, or what we want to achieve, is to get as many Americans recycling as possible. So understanding that, even when cities have drop-off centers, we're in full support of that. We really spent 2021 going across the country because many municipalities have had to make tough decisions over the last couple of years, and especially when COVID hit as well. It's very difficult to continue recycling. We get that. It's very expensive. We come in and we help bridge that gap. So if municipalities have had to terminate their programs, we offer a program that has a unique business model that allows us to operate in these locations. And that business model is an Uber-like model. And we've done that. We've based our business on that Uber model because we've actually taken some executives from Uber. And for 2 very strong reasons. One, operationally, we do not have the overhead of the $400,000 heavy trucks that tear up your streets. And we don't have the overhead of full-time employees. We hire local gig economy employees, many of them actually are Uber drivers, and they use their own vehicle and they go to persons' homes and they pick up these recyclables. So we are a subscription service, and we are a 100% virtual company. We contract with the local resident to pick up those recyclables, and we have a couple different levels of service. You know, from a customer point of view, our base service is, you know, what most people are familiar with. It's $12 a month. It's every other week pickup. So some months it's 2 times a month. Sometimes it's 3 times a month. It just depends how the calendar falls. And we pick up everything. We pick up paper, cardboard, plastic, glass, and metal. Now, the other levels of service include some folks that recycle a lot more or have big families, every week service. And then we also provide that same type of every week service to commercial folks that want that as well. In terms of understanding, you might have some questions about where those materials go. It's my understanding right now, I'm not on the operations side of things, but it's my understanding that we'll be taking things to the Sunoco facility in the greater Orlando area. We are operating in 17 states presently. We are in over 160 municipalities, and we are very excited about bringing this service to the greater Deltona area. We are right now targeting for, I think, the very last week of October to kick the service off and make it available to folks. And just since I have a couple more seconds, the way that this works is folks come to our website and they request services in any given area in the United States. Once we have a certain number of those folks that are interested in our service, we start to look into what the scenario is in that given locale or area. And as I mentioned before, so many places had to cancel their programs. And when we confirm that there is no at-home pickup service available, that's when we come in and we offer the municipality the opportunity to be that hero and say, partner with us to say, this is available. And that partnering is...
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the information. Thanks.
Good afternoon or good night. I'm here to present a drainage problem. My commissioner, I've talked to him.
Can you just pull the mic a little closer to you? There you go.
My commissioner, I've been able to deal with him. This started over 1.5 years ago. I'm not going to call any names. I'm just going to call positions. Okay, I called the existing commissioner that was here before David come, and he come out and looked, and he told me, he said, Mr. Fowler, that's your responsibility to have that there drainage problem fixed. I said, well, you better, look forward, because it's not my responsibility. But anyhow, Mr. Cooper, well, he's gone now, so I can call his name. So Mr. Cooper, come out, looked at it. He said, well, Mr. Fowler, we got a concern here. We got to work at it. He said, I'll get back with you later. Never heard anything, so I heard that, he had been done away with. So then that's when I got with David, talked with the problem, so what we could get worked out, then the city manager come out and looked. He presented me with this piece of paper here saying it's your responsibility. I read it. I said, no, it tell me I got to cut the grass, but it don't tell me I got to pay for the drainage problem. I says, it's got to be fixed. But anyhow, I keep sending them a rough draft, which I just come up with this, of how it could be done a cheaper way. When the engineer they hired, which they didn't need him, it takes common sense on something like this. So the engineer said, well, we're going to have to put culverts under them 2 driveways where 2 houses was built, and the codes give COs, and them culverts swell up to back the water up on me. That's where the problem's coming in at. So Mr. Peters come back out again, and he brought that engineer out, and went from there. So I didn't hear nothing. So I got with David, and they said, well, we'll get with it. So I come up with which I'm a retired contractor. I went through all this stuff in South Carolina. So I shot the grade with my tripod. and sent them a copy of it to how it would work out. But then David told me that the city manager says, you know, all you got to do is go out there and scoop out some dirt. That ain't common sense. I done shot these grades and water ain't going uphill unless you pump it. But all I'm wanting is the problem fixed. CO should have never been issued on them two houses by covering up the swell that the water goes. And all that water backing up on me. And they can't run it back beside my house without putting a deep swell. My drawing says they can lower this here down 1 foot here, raise this up 1 foot, and that'll bring that water back to this point here. And it's already going downhill here. But I can't get no response. And all I'm asking for is, let's get this problem. If the city manager is liable to spend $25,000 without coming for y'all, I know it ain't gonna cost $25,000 to grade this area right here up to my driveway and put the sod back. That's the cheapest way. I don't know what they come up with when he got that engineer, which I told him he didn't need an engineer, but he said he had to get one. And now they decide they ain't going with an engineer. He's going to go out there and supervise and have it done.
Is there a way, sir, that you can leave a copy of what you have with the clerk, or can they make a copy for it so that we can have a copy of what you've got there if you'd like to? Is that okay? Can you guys make a copy of that? And then if he needs the original back, they'll go ahead and make a copy. And then the acting city manager has heard. And if we can get a copy of that, that would be great.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
The situation very simple. We had a surveyor go out and survey this well. There is a slight hot spot near the new homes that were built. Unfortunately, it's right between the sidewalk and the road. We have asked the surveyor to go out and do a couple cross sections so that we can accurately grade the swell so it will drain. We have been waiting almost a month for that surveyor to go back out there. It's the nature of the business right now. On a personal level, I had to wait 3 months on a surveyor to do a job for me. So as soon as we get those two cross sections that we've asked for from the surveyor, we are committed to going out and modifying about 40 to 50 feet of the swell to get positive drainage back toward the new homes and away from Mr. Fowler. We have been committed to doing that. I explained to him that we are just waiting for the surveyor to come out and do the little bit of extra work that we need.
Okay.
I don't agree with that, don't need an engineer.
Well, sir, we're done with their public comment, but if you want to leave that with the clerk. Well, but.
Well, that's all I got to say. I'll deal with mine. I call them county.
Okay, and if you'd like to leave that for. Okay, thank you, sir. If you'd like to leave a copy, they would make a copy. That would be great. We would have that then. Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, that closes the public comment portion of the hearing, and we'll move on now to comments on consent items. We have several items on consent this evening. We have 2 items. Item A is request for approval of resolution number 2021-53, declaring certain tangible personal property owned by the city as surplus and authorizing the acting city manager to dispose of them. And item B, request to award a citywide garage door preventative maintenance and replacement contract to C&D Industrial Maintenance. Is there anyone that signed up to comment on consent agenda? No, then we'll close that portion of the item. So we have 2 items on consent. Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no questions, and I move to approve consent agenda item A and B.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, and I'm sorry, who seconded that? Commissioner McCool, right? Okay, may we vote on the 2 consent agenda items, please?
Do you wish to read that resolution? Which
yes, sir, please.
Item A?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes, Resolution 2021-53, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, pertaining to the sale of surplus property, declaring certain property of the city as surplus, and authorizing the sale or disposal of such property, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford? Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. And now we will move to City Commission special reports and requests. And Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that showed up. I'll do that under comments, but for mental health and substance abuse, and I'll leave it at that. I'd also have a special request. I would like to understand, and I would like for us to talk about with the city manager and the city attorney, if possible, about commissioner input for insurance settlements. As I understand it right now, the insurance company just kind of makes their own decisions about, what they're going to settle or not in the name of the city of Deltona. So I would like to have that discussion. I don't know how that discussion should be had. I don't know if it's on an individual basis, and you're going to instruct me that. But I just want to understand that portion. I know that we have communication with the city attorney when we have lawsuits, but my reason for asking this is looking back on or looking at some of the insurance settlements and saying, how does the commission feel about that? Because they're representing our city also. When they make a determination on a settlement, the insurance company does, they also make a statement about the city's position on a given matter that they're settling. And I think that we should have input as to how we're represented and how we feel about the matter. So go forth and be fruitful with that information and figure out how that is, because it makes a statement when the insurance company settles for something, and we should at least understand what the rationale is. I understand that they have a job to do, but I think that the commission should at least understand, or I need to understand, how that works so that they're not making a statement for me as to whether I agree on something or not, our position on that. So thank you.
Okay, commissioners, let's talk about that for a second, because we need to get consensus on if there is consensus to have I don't want to necessarily say a workshop, but a presentation on understanding, and I think that's a conversation that management and the attorney need to have with the insurance company, whether the insurance company wants to send a representative here for a workshop discussion and understand how claims are either denied or settled and who gets what. I think that is there interest from the commission to have that item placed on some sort of an agenda? I know Commissioner McCool, you are Vice Mayor. Are you interested in that at all? Yes. Commissioner Sosa? Yes. Commissioner Villa-Vasquez? Ramos? Commissioner King? Okay, so basically there's consensus to go ahead and bring forth some information, and we'll leave that up to staff to decide how they disseminate that information. In other words, bring someone from our insurance company in, or there's multiple ways you can look at that. And it's cost-benefit analysis, and it's also I guess the question, Commissioner McCool, correct me if I'm wrong, but how much input do we have in saying whether or not things should be settled?
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're looking at. Do we have an input? Do we have to take what the insurance company says if they want to settle X, Y, Z? So I think if you could work your magic and then at some point bring that back to the commission and just give us an educational option as to what can be done with that and how does it work.
The city attorney and I just conferred, and I think the thing to do is right now we're scheduled for the first workshop in October, to have a review of our firefighter pension. That will take about 30 minutes to an hour, which leaves an hour to an hour and a half to have a presentation regarding Ms. McCool's concerns. So we got to get with the insurance and their attorney, and I think it would be the 11th of October. We would do a workshop at that time.
Okay. All right, so you can schedule that, and at least bring back some information for us would be good. Okay. Any other comments on that? And we'll have City Attorney, Mr. Fowler, any comments?
No, ma'am.
City Manager, Mr. Peters, any comments for you, sir?
Yeah, I have a couple items, if you can indulge me a second. The first one is next Monday, September 27th, we're going to have a workshop on food truck ordinance. I encourage anybody that has interest in this subject matter to please come to that workshop. We will be getting a copy of the ordinance out this week so that people have an opportunity to review it before Monday. Reminder that workshop, we cannot take any action. It's strictly for discussion. So please, when you come on the 27th, do not expect a vote because there will not be one. The second item is we're planning a joint workshop for Tuesday, September 28th with the City Commission and the Charter Review Committee. We have had some concerns expressed and just a general direction. I think it would be a good opportunity for everybody to get together and talk about, are there any expectations or what have you regarding charter? One of the key issues that has been of concern is whether the City Commission would be agreeable to rewriting the entire charter and doing a delete and replace situation rather than having a whole laundry list of charter amendments. Those of us that have been around for a few years, it's usually when you get past about 3 charter amendments, the voters get fed up and they just start voting no. So that's one of the things I think we need to be prepared to talk about is, is there an interest or a desire to look at a rewrite, because the review of a rewrite is different. And we will also give you information regarding what the state statute requirements are for a charter as to what is in the charter so that we all are understanding where we're going. Next item, I just wanted to tell you that we have had a phenomenal response to testing at Dewey Obaster for the last couple weeks. If you compare, and I sent you all an email just a little while ago, so I don't expect any of y'all to have seen it, but there's a comparison in there of the testing in Daytona Beach versus Dewey Obaster, not even close. And I just want people to realize that this is an incredible service being provided to our residents and people around Deltona. You can make an appointment online, or you can just show up. You can get the quick test, or you can get the what I call the long test. The company NOMI has their own labs, so even if you get the more detailed test, you'll get the results usually within 2 days, which is a very short time period. It's much more accurate than the quick test. So, remember, it is Monday through Friday from 10 to 7 at Dewey Boxer. If you have any concerns about whether you have COVID or have been exposed to COVID, I highly encourage you to show up and get tested. And then I wanted to get consensus on something that was said earlier. The mayor, and I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be, but I just want to make it official. The mayor said earlier she would like to see a quarterly budget overview. And I just want to get consensus from the commission, because I don't want to be accused of favoring the mayor's request. One of the things we all need to be mindful of is we may want something, but for the staff, we have to have a consensus. So can I get a consensus on staff doing a quarterly budget overview?
Or if not quarterly, whatever the commission's desire is. Quarterly? Okay. Vice Mayor, quarterly? Okay.
Do we have consensus?
Yes.
That's it for me.
You don't need a motion for that?
No, ma'am.
Nope. Okay. Okay, City Commission comments. Let's go. Commissioner Sosa. Or Commissioner, why don't we go with A? You could go first.
Well, actually, thank you, Mayor, but I don't know if this is a comment or a request. However, it's no secret that we have problems with some of our boards. I've been to some, and I notice how staff struggles to continue with their meetings because there's no quorum. I also noticed that you have 9 people or 11 people on the board. In every meeting, you hear from the same 2 or 3 people. Sometimes they put a picture on the screen, so you don't even know if they're there, right? So my question is, who better than the staff or the chair of that board, who knows who the members are, who the participants are, who are the plus people for that board, who makes a difference in that board, to identify the people that should be part of that board. And instead of us commissioners who have no idea who these people are that we are selecting to be on a board. So I'm just wondering, should we think about this going forward and reconsider how this is done, and let the committee itself, the board itself, select their members? Because they know who their people are. They know who does the most work, who puts 100% into it, who's there all the time. They know who doesn't show up. They know who's dedicated to, and they know who's just using the board to add it onto their resume. And we have great volunteers who dedicate 100% of their time. They show up, they give their all to what their cause is. So I'm just wondering, just throwing it out there, maybe we can think about this. I don't need to hear about it now, and I'm sure I'll hear it anyway. Are we the proper people to select these board members? Because we don't even know who they are. We just see a name and a resume. I've seen people on this dais pick people to be on a board that haven't been to not one meeting. I could tell you because I've been in that meeting. I've seen us approve applications that were 5 years old. So I'm just putting it out there just for us to think about this. Are we the right people to select these board members? So just a thought. Thank you.
Any other comments, Commissioner? Anything else for your commissioner for comments?
For comments, no, I just want to thank everybody who came out, and have a good day. Have a good night.
Commissioner Sosa?
Nothing tonight, ma'am.
Commissioner King?
All right, I just want to let everybody know that starting Friday and Saturday at Winn-Dixie on Providence Boulevard, American Legion will be out there, and we will be fundraising for Wreaths Across America. So these are the first 2 days for fundraising. So please come out, bring some cash, bring your checkbook, buy a wreath or 2. For every 2 wreaths, we get another wreath for free. Wreaths are $15 a piece. So come out and see us. We'll be there all day. We have more folks have been interred at Deltona Memorial Gardens. We're looking to raise about $9,000 this year so that we can put a wreath on every single grave for our veterans. So thank you. Hope to see a bunch of you out this coming weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool? Commissioner Ramos?
We're good.
Vice Mayor? Okay, and that comes down to me, and I'm not going to belabor this, but I have I had someone reach out to me this week and ask me if we are having our Christmas parade. I know that sounds weird, but at some point when staff decides to decide, are we having our Christmas parade? At this point, or is it a go? Is it a work in progress?
There's only one right answer.
Yes, sir.
I believe the date is December 11th because I have a personal Christmas party and I had to move it to December 18th to avoid December 11th. So we will confirm the details and we will get the information out.
So if you moved your personal party, then I'm going to say, yes, we're having a parade. So, okay, we'll just, I know it's kind of strange to be asking that, but that will be here in no time. And just one other comment, Commissioner, your request about the boards, I think that's something we need to roll around, and I think the process for the boards needs to, we need to review those applications every 6 months. And every 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, so that there are not old applications in there. And I don't speak of that you want to have an old application for a person, but people's circumstances change, how they interact with the city changes, and we have specific regulations as to, you know, what says on that application. So I think that we really need to look into the boards, and also when the renewals come up. Is there a way to let us know if we're going to be doing this, who shows up and who doesn't? Maybe that would be a good thing.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to just emphasize something. I think many of you are aware of it. Ms. Stacy Kipolo joined us a couple weeks ago. I don't think she's regretted it yet, but she is doing a top-to-bottom review of department policies and things of that nature, and reviewing the process that we use for filling vacancies on our board is extremely critical. I think the application need to be board-specific so that the data that we get is in line with the needs of the boards. Then the other thing is we need to, like you said a few minutes ago, we need to do regular review, because if something appears to be out of date, we need to reach out to that particular person and ask if they still are interested and if they have anything to update on their file. So that will be part of our ongoing procedures.
And Commissioner, yes, sir?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just want to, I looked to the audience and I saw Joe Hearns, and if we don't say something, we'll get in trouble. But we just had a Latin night this last weekend, and I think it was great success. But the other thing is, for those of you, this might be out of my age bracket, but October 22nd, they're also having 80s night.
Out of your age bracket.
And I believe it's $10 a ticket, and you can definitely go at Eventbrite, or you can go over to the center. Again, October 22nd, 80s night.
And I would encourage everyone to come out for 80s night. I know people that are already purchasing tickets online. So yeah, I think you should show up. Yes, would be good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, commissioners, for going through the budget process, and I appreciate all of your diligence in going through that. Thank you, staff. I know change is hard, but we'll get there. We have a great staff. We have great leadership, and this year it's going to be better than ever. Thank you. We're adjourned.